She ironed his uniform the night before he deployed, pressed every crease, pinned every ribbon, cried a little. She was proud, she was loyal, she was in love. 3 weeks later, she was in his father's arms. And nobody saw it coming. Not the neighbors, not the church ladies, not even her own mother. But someone always finds out. Someone always does. Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Population, 57,000 soldiers and the families who wait for them. In a beige house on Raeford Road, the kind with a flag by the door and wind chimes on the porch, lived Cassandra Marie Holloway. Everyone called her Cassie. She was 28 years old, brown eyes, warm smile, the kind of woman who brought casseroles to neighbors she barely knew. She had married Staff Sergeant Daniel Holloway when she was 23. They met at a church picnic in Fayetteville. He was in his dress uniform. She was wearing yellow. They got married 9 months later. Small ceremony. 70 guests. Her dad cried. Daniel was a good man, quiet, disciplined. He loved her in a steady, soldier kind of way, not with big words, but with action. He fixed things when they broke. He showed up, but the Army also called a lot. His third deployment came in February, Afghanistan. 9 months, maybe longer. The morning he left, Cassie stood at the airport with red eyes and a brave face. Daniel kissed her forehead, said, "I'll be back before you know it." He didn't know what he was leaving behind, because waiting at home in a house 20 minutes away was his father, Raeford Holloway, retired military, 58 years old, widower. Robert had always been kind to Cassie, too kind, some would say now. But back then, nobody said anything. Raeford Holloway had retired from the Army 8 years before the story begins, 22 years of service, 2 wars, 1 bad knee, 1 dead wife. Margaret Holloway had passed from cancer when Daniel was 26. It broke Robert in a still, deep way, the kind of broken that doesn't make noise, but shows up in the eyes. After Margaret died, Robert became a fixture in Daniel and Cassie's life. Sunday dinners, holiday meals. He fixed their leaking faucet without being asked. He mowed their lawn when Daniel was in the field. Cassie liked him. He was funny in a dry, old soldier way. He called her kid even though she was a grown woman. He made her feel safe. That feeling of safety, that was the first mistake. When Daniel deployed in February, Robert started coming by more often. Once a week became twice. Twice became every other day. He said he was checking on her. Cassie told herself that's all it was. She was lonely. Daniel's calls were a short 5 minutes, sometimes less. The silence in the house was heavy. She'd walk past his side of the closet and just stand there. Robert noticed all of it. He brought her coffee one morning, then dinner another night. Then one evening they sat on the back porch until midnight, talking, laughing, sharing things that felt too honest for the hour. She told herself it was just friendship. He told himself the same thing. By April, neither of them was saying it anymore. The relationship that followed wasn't loud or dramatic. There were no screaming fights, no wild scenes. It was calm on the surface, almost gentle, which somehow made it worse. It was the kind of betrayal that wears a kind face. Cassie knew it was wrong. She knew every single day. She'd look at Daniel's photo on the nightstand in uniform, smiling, and feel something collapse inside her. But she kept going back. Robert never pushed, he never forced. He was just there, present, available. Everything a deployed husband couldn't be. The town of Fayetteville is small in the ways that matter. People talk, people notice cars and driveways, people notice patterns. Daniel's best friend, Sergeant Marcus Webb, lived 3 streets over. He noticed Robert's truck parked outside Cassie's house on a Tuesday evening, then again on Thursday. Then the following Saturday at 11 p.m., Marcus didn't say anything at first. He told himself there was an explanation. He was wrong to wait. Marcus Webb had served 2 tours alongside Daniel. He knew what it meant to have someone's back, not just in the field, but in life. He also knew what it felt like to see something wrong and choose to look away. He'd done it before. He'd promised himself he wouldn't do it again. Making that call to Afghanistan, knowing what it would do, was the hardest thing Marcus had done outside of combat. He told his wife that night, "I don't know if I did the right thing. I just know I couldn't do nothing. It wasn't a crime in the legal sense. That's what made it so hard." The night everything unraveled was an ordinary Thursday in late June, zip code 28303, Fayetteville, North Carolina. It was hot. The kind of Carolina summer night where the air doesn't move and the cicadas are so loud you can't think straight. Daniel called at 8:47 p.m. He had 10 minutes, maybe less. Bad connection. He sounded tired, but okay. He asked if the truck was running fine. He asked if she'd talked to his dad lately. She said yes. The truck was fine. She did not answer the second question. After she hung up, she sat on the kitchen floor for a long time. Just sat there, phone in her lap. The refrigerator hummed loud in the stillness. Robert knocked at 9:15 p.m. She let him in. What happened that night wasn't different from the nights before. But something shifted. Maybe it was the call. Maybe it was Daniel's voice, tired, trusting, a world away. Whatever it was, Cassie felt it crack something open. She asked Robert to leave at 10:30. He looked surprised. She didn't explain. He left. Cassie sat at the kitchen table until 2 a.m. She wrote 3 separate text messages to her sister, her best friend, and her own mother. She didn't send any of them. Instead, she opened her laptop and started typing. She wrote everything down, every date, every visit, every moment she couldn't take back. She didn't know why she was doing it. She told herself it was for clarity. It turned out to be evidence. Marcus Webb had driven past the house that night. He'd seen Robert's gray Ford F-150 plate number. She'd never noticed parked outside at 9:30 p.m. This time, Marcus didn't wait. He called Daniel at 11 p.m., middle of the night in Afghanistan. Patchy signal. He kept the call short. He just said, "Brother, I think you need to know something." There was no crime scene, no yellow tape, no detectives with flashlights. The investigation was more silent than that, and in some ways more brutal. Daniel's commanding officer granted him emergency family leave 2 weeks after Marcus's call. No official reason given, just family emergency. Daniel landed at Raleigh-Durham Airport on a Tuesday morning at 6 a.m. He didn't call ahead. He took a cab to the house on Raeford Road. He had a key. Cassie was asleep when he walked in. She woke to the sound of the front door. She sat up, and in the dim light of the bedroom, she saw her husband standing in the doorway, still in his travel clothes, bag over one shoulder, eyes that looked like they'd already decided something. She didn't say anything. Neither did he. Not right away. He set his bag down. He sat in the chair across from the bed, the one where he used to leave his boots, and he said very quietly, "Tell me everything." She did. She told him all of it. No half-truths, no softening the edges. She told him how it started, how long it went on, who knew, who didn't. Daniel listened without interrupting. His face didn't change much. That was the part Cassie said was hardest to watch, the stillness of him. When she finished, he stood up, picked up his bag, and went to sleep in the guest room. The next morning, he drove to his father's house. Neighbors on Roberts Street, Oak Glen Drive, reported seeing Daniel's rental car parked outside for 45 minutes. No shouting, no sirens, nothing they could point to. Court records show that Daniel filed for divorce 6 days after returning to the States. Irreconcilable differences. He did not contest the house. He did not ask for anything. Robert Holloway changed his phone number 2 weeks later and moved to a rental property in Raeford, about 30 miles west. Investigators in this case, the military's Family Services Unit, documented the timeline as part of a broader support case. They noted no criminal activity, no abuse, no coercion. Just choices. And what those choices cost The document Cassie had typed that night, that long, honest account she'd written at 2 a.m., was later shared with the military chaplain she started seeing for counseling. He was the one who told her, "You wrote that because part of you already knew it was over. Here's what nobody expected." Robert had a journal. He'd kept it for years, a plain brown notebook he bought at a gas station somewhere in Virginia. He wrote in it every few days, thoughts mostly, nothing dramatic. After everything fell apart, he mailed it to Daniel. No note, no explanation. Just the journal in a padded envelope, Daniel's name on the front in Robert's handwriting. Daniel opened it alone in his apartment near Fort Bragg on a Saturday afternoon. He read it in one sitting. He didn't move the whole time, didn't get up for water, didn't check his phone, just sat there in that apartment with the afternoon light changing around him. Some pages he read twice. Not because he didn't understand them the first time, but because he needed to feel them twice. At one point, his hands shook, just for a moment. He set the journal down on the coffee table, breathed, picked it back up. He didn't cry, he wanted to, but something in him had gone past crying to that colder, quieter place where grief just sits and watches you. By the time he finished the last page, the room was dark. He hadn't turned on a light. What the journal revealed wasn't what anyone expected. Robert hadn't written about Cassie the way a man writes about a secret. He'd written about Margaret Daniel's mother. Page after page about how much he missed her, how the house felt like a museum, how some mornings he woke up and couldn't remember what the point was. And then tucked in the middle of all that grief were a few entries about Cassie, not romantic, not proud, ashamed. He wrote, "I am a man who should know better. I have no excuse. I only have this grief that I don't know where to put." The last entry was dated the night Cassie asked him to leave. It said only, "She's stronger than I am. She always was." Daniel told one person about the journal, Marcus. Marcus said, "What are you going to do with it?" Daniel thought for a long moment. Then he said, "Nothing. I'm just going to know." He never contacted his father again. There was no courtroom, no jury, no verdict delivered by a judge in a black robe. The only trial was the one that happened inside 4 people, and it was the kind that never really ends. Cassie's divorce was finalized in October. Uncontested, clean, legally speaking. She stayed in Fayetteville for 8 more months. She kept going to her job at the pediatric clinic on Owen Drive. She kept showing up. She kept breathing. Then she moved back to her hometown of Greensboro, about 90 miles northwest. Moved into her parents' spare room. Started over. She entered therapy. Not right away, it took a while before she could say what she needed to say out loud without her voice breaking. Her therapist told her something that stuck. Guilt is not the same as accountability. You can have one without doing the work of the other. Cassie wrote that sentence down. She kept it on her bathroom mirror. Robert Holloway never remarried. Neighbors in Raeford say he became more of a recluse over time. He volunteered at a veterans food pantry on weekends. He didn't talk much about his family. The Army processed Daniel's divorce quietly, as they do. He returned to his unit. He was good at his job. He kept being good at his job. His commanding officer noted in a report purely routine that Sergeant Holloway showed no decline in performance. If anything, he became more focused. Some people get quieter when they break. Some people get sharper. Daniel got sharper. Marcus Webb stood by his friend through all of it. No judgment. No, I told you so. Just presence, which is sometimes the only thing that matters. There's a bench at the Veterans Memorial Park in Fayetteville, just off Hay Street. It's a plain bench. Gray metal. Overlooks a small fountain. Daniel Holloway sits there sometimes when he's back in town. Not to mourn. Not exactly, but to think. He thinks about what loyalty means when it's tested by distance. He thinks about what a family is when you strip away the assumption that love is enough. He doesn't think about Robert much anymore. He thinks about his mother sometimes, about how her absence made space for something to grow that shouldn't have. He thinks, grief is dangerous when it has nowhere to go. Cassie still calls her parents every Sunday without fail. She doesn't talk about what happened, not at Sunday dinners, not with her cousins, not at family gatherings where everyone tries a little too hard to act normal. But on quiet Tuesday mornings, she still writes long, honest things for no one, just for herself. She says writing is the only way she knows how to tell the truth. A marriage built on loyalty was broken by loneliness. A father betrayed the son he raised to never run from hard things. A woman learned too late, and then not too late, that silence has consequences. There's no clean ending here. No one was arrested. No one went to prison. The punishment was quieter than that. It always is. Some wounds don't leave scars, you can see. They leave a particular kind of stillness in empty chairs, in Sunday calls, in journals mailed with no return address. And somewhere in Fayetteville, a bench sits empty most days, waiting for no one, remembering everything. If you like this story, please like, comment, and subscribe for more episodes.